especially to other drivers? And if you would recommend us, why is that? What are the reasons behind it?
100%, I'd recommend Tri-State.
My name is Mike Lawrence. I'm the president here at Tri-State Expedited in Millbury, Ohio. And I'm sitting here with one of my drivers who I call a friend. This is John Moore. He's an independent contractor for Tri-State Expedited, drives one of our tractors, does a great job for us. He's a great guy, very easy to talk to, as well as a good driver. And I thought he'd be a good interviewee to talk about his experiences here at Tri-State. So John, thanks for agreeing to doing this with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your career in trucking. How'd you get into the industry?
I retired from the military in 1999 and had always wanted to be a truck driver. I remember as a little boy on a trip. I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and this was back in the 60s, and I remember climbing up in a back windshield of my dad's big car, and remember the trucks coming right up on the back of Dad and me doing
that. Yeah, making them blow the horn.
I remember telling Dad that I'm going to be a truck driver one of these days, and he said, "Well, we'll see." And I always had that, I guess, in the back of my mind. And after retirement from the military, I started looking for other things to do, worked maintenance for a little bit, but as a diesel mechanic, and that led into getting my CDL and becoming a driver.
When did you get that CDL?
2000.
2000. So pretty recently after coming out of the Army.
Right, within about 90 days.
Yeah,
I got it. And
so you've had it for a while. You've seen. So since 2000, it's now 2024. Boy, have you seen changes in the trucking industry in 24 years?
Yes, sir. A lot of changes.
Yeah. I mean, the ELD mandate. I mean, I can't even imagine running a company now where the drivers are utilizing paper logs and having to audit all of those manually. I can't even comprehend that.
It's amazing. I mean, everybody fought that for so long,
right?
Just went out of their way to try to say that this is just going to destroy the industry, and it's actually, I think, done the opposite. It has made drivers take time, and run legal.
Yeah.
Run legal.
It's definitely leveled the playing field when it comes to drivers and made everybody follow the same pattern,
Absolutely.
Right? And so what that does is hopefully is, the people who aren't following those rules kind of get pushed to the side in favor of the people who are doing it the right way.
I don't know how they do it, but I guess there's guys that can still figure out how to get around systems or whatever.
You build a system, somebody's going to game the system, right?
It just is amazing. But this is it really is about safety and taking care of the drivers to where that they're living healthier lives over the road and getting the sleep that they need and the breaks that they need, and inspecting the trucks and documenting it like it's really supposed to go on. I mean, in the very beginning, I don't know that I was in favor of it, but today I never look back. It's been a good process, good program.
I think that's analogous to life, right? There's so many things that you probably don't want to do, but you end up doing them, and you think, maybe that was the right thing to do anyway.
Exactly.
Maybe so. I hear you. I remember when we first went 100% in on the forward-facing cameras. We were really worried about driver pushback, and at the end of the day, the drivers we want to have are the ones who are safety minded, right, are the ones who want to be the professional drivers.
Exactly.
If drivers have a problem with outward facing cameras these days, I almost want to say, what are you worried about us seeing?
In my drivers, I tell them, I said, look, I don't intend on putting a rear facing camera in there, because what you're scratching in there and what you're doing, I don't want to know.
No doubt.
I don't want to know. But for insurance purposes, and the world has went so litigious, with every billboard out there, an attorney holding a hammer and over, if you've been involved in an accident or something with a truck, we'll get you more. It's just, it really is a device that can catch what really happens out there.
Right.
And it can save your bacon. It really can.
We've seen the videos that are I show one every week in our orientation class of a private passenger vehicle trying to squeeze in through a construction zone right in front of
Mhm.
our truck. And I'm always concerned, like if we didn't have this video, what would the outcome have
Right.
been? So
I had one this week that we were in a construction zone in Indiana, and it's dead stop, and it's right-hand lane. It was being merged in from the left-hand lane, and of course they're running right down to the edge to where
mhm,
the lights blink, and then they're forcing
squeezing
in.
in, yep.
And then I had a four-wheeler coming down the right on the median, and then enough of a gap, because I leave enough of a gap for safety. He came in front of me, and I'm like, ooh, and I'm like, man, at least I got the camera that something like that happens.
Right.
It protects me, my company, Tri-State.
Tri-State, sure.
It really it's a benefit.
When I used to ride motorcycles, my rule always was if you expect everyone to pull in front of you, you won't be disappointed that often.
That's true. That's very true.
So, how long have you been here with Tri-State?
2 years this month.
Okay,
I
cool.
I went through orientation March 27th of 22, and got in my first load 2.5 days later, and haven't looked back since. It's
Cool.
Yeah, right at 2 year, April the 1st, approximately 8/20, March 29th was when I got in the truck
Right,
and got
right.
my first load of 2022.
So, and you're kind of following that pattern that so many drivers want to do, right? They come in as a company driver,
Mm-hmm.
and then they see an opportunity, and they say, you know what, I want to go into business for myself. I want to take more responsibility for my own income, and they move into that owner operator where they're driving their own truck and managing their finances and managing their loads and their revenue and expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And then they look at it and they say, okay, now I want to start to expand. I'm gonna add another truck onto my fleet. So you have two trucks on with
Two
Tri-State
trucks
now?
right now, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah. How's your other driver doing? He's
He's
doing well?
phenomenal.
Yeah?
He's very professional, very polite, just a good man. I mean,
Nice.
he's a good man, and I was looking for a good person to drive that truck, and he is exceptional. He's conscientious. He's on time for both his pickups and his
That's
deliveries.
pretty big in
And
expedite
I'm
freight.
telling you, I mean, I told him when he put the advertising, I said, this is not normal trucking. This isn't even normal OTR. This is expedite.
Right.
And this is just in time freight. Those assembly lines could shut down. And I don't want that to be on me,
Right.
my company, Tri-State. I want you, unless something unfortunate, act of God or whatever happens, you need to be on time for pickup and you're on time for delivery. And so far, he's nailed it.
Nice.
Could not be happier.
Well, it's funny because, even with the driver shortage that's plagued the industry for I don't know how many years, you still only want to put the right type of driver. I mean, we're pretty careful about who we'll put in our seats, and I know you are as well.
You are Tri-State is, and they have to work with me. They have to fill out what I call a pre-app, and in that pre-app, I make a very quick yes or no, thumb up, thumb down decision of whether you're qualified to even work with me. After you get through that, I tell them straight up, that's phase one. Phase two, now you've got to get through Tri-State, and you need to be very conscientious on your app. You need to not embellish anything. Your dates need to match up because they're going to check. It's not getting a military clearance, but
Not far off, huh?
it's not far off. It's
running the
very,
Tri-State compliance gauntlet. I know how tough that can be.
but I like that. I mean, I like to know that the information that they're putting on there is verifiable,
Mm-hmm.
that their driving record is verifiable, that the insurance company has looked them over and said they are safe to drive for Tri-State
Right.
and for me.
Right.
And I really like it. I like what the process that you have, because I feel like at the end of it, when that driver's behind the wheel, I've got a quality driver that's professional, that has had experience, that I know they've dealt with weather conditions, they've dealt with road conditions, they've dealt with other drivers around them. They understand the industry, and you guys verify all that. And it takes a lot of work off my plate, and I'm very grateful for that.
Excellent, excellent. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with our dispatch team. You work with our
Wow.
truckload department with Shelly and
I
Adam
do.
and those guys. And tell me a little bit about that.
When you and I first met a couple of years ago, and I was interviewing, I said, and I don't want to speak for the entire industry, but I have been in this business over 2 decades. And I've been through a number, like a lot of drivers, number of different companies
Mhm.
over those years. And I said, coming in, it has never been in my past, and only my past, it's never been the equipment. It's never been the company. It's never been the owners of the company. And even some cases, the managers of the company. And my issues in the past that have caused me to move on has been 100% dispatchers.
Mhm.
And you told me that your dispatchers have 2 to plus 3 decades of experience here at this company. And
Mhm.
I said, wow, that that longevity there proves, one, it's a good company, and two, they're an expert in their business.
Yeah.
And you guys tied me in with Shelly and her team, and I'll tell you, they're amazing people, absolutely amazing.
One thing that we do during orientation that I think a lot of companies really miss out on is we make sure that our new drivers meet with their dispatcher at
Mhm,
orientation. I think that
mhm,
helps get that personal relationship off the ground because
mhm.
you're right. At the end of the day, that's the person you're going to be talking to the most often, right? That's
Right.
you're talking to the dispatcher several times a day, where you
Mhm.
might talk to me once every couple of weeks or whatever. So
Right.
that relationship has to be really good, and I'm glad you found that with Shelly and her team.
She's amazing. I think the absolute world of her, and she works so hard. She's
Yeah.
got a good team of people, but she takes care of me and my drivers. And the thing is that she told me when I met her, she said, that's. I told her how hard I worked, how long I was going to stay out, and she was like, "Yeah, okay."
That's what they all say.
That's what they all say. And she says, let me kind of keep an eye on you and see what you're doing, and I'll determine whether I'm going to keep you or I'm going to hand you off to one of my other dispatchers.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And I said, I'll show you. And
So you weren't done with the application process, were you?
or I was not. No, it was not.
Right.
But yeah, I worked very hard. And after a couple of months, she called me and she goes, yeah, I'm going to keep you.
Yep.
So I'm like, sweet.
Good. Well, she is, and I tell this to everybody. She's the best truckload dispatcher in the business, bar none.
Bar none.
So
Bar
good.
without, with bar none.
Yep.
She's amazing.
I'm going to save that question for last. But one thing I wanted to ask you about is, as an over the road driver, how do you balance that need for home life and being away from the job with what your goals are as a business owner? Those are two things that are always in conflict. How do you do that?
Mike, that's a very tough question, and I don't know that I'm probably the best person to ask that question because I'm what I call an old school truck driver. Um, I'm very fortunate to be married. I spent 23 years in the military and
Mm-hmm.
was deployed and gone a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went into truck driving, my wife asked me at the time, she said, how I haven't seen you very much for 23 years. How much am I going to see you during trucking? And I said, I don't know, every 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in this industry, I've learned over the years that if you want to make a good living, you need to be out anywhere between a minimum of 3 to 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can be out 5 or 6 weeks, you're doing very well. If you can be out beyond that, you'll do even better. And I stay out a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
you
stay
do.
out a very, very, very long time. But I have a support um, channel behind me with my wife and my kids. They're all grown now, and they understand that this is how we make a living.
Yep.
So
It's a tough it is a tough thing for our
yeah,
industry, right? And
yeah,
I constantly have drivers asking me on Facebook and other social media, how much money can I make?
mm-hmm.
And my response is always the same: how hard do you want to work?
Exactly.
So you're
Exactly.
right. If you want to if you want to come in and be home more often, we can maybe make that work, but you're not going to make as much money.
Right.
And that to me, that's fair. The
Right.
harder you work, the more money you should make.
Well, I've had drivers that's asked me, and my drivers have asked me, and in the application, and that's during the phase 1 process. My questionnaire asked them, I want you out 29 days,
Mhm.
and then that's 4 weeks, and
Mhm.
then you off 4 days. That's 1 day off for every week that you're out.
Okay.
That's what I need. But I know that you have your needs, so let's negotiate some. And then I get guys that in the application say, I have to be home every weekend. I'm like, well, I'm advertising for an OTR driver, an over-the-road driver. If that's not OTR, you
Right.
need to be looking more for a local driver, or even maybe a regional driver.
Maybe.
But that's not working. That's not going to work for me. But you know, I am open to a guy that a person that wants to come out for 2 weeks and then take 2 days off. That's my minimum.
Yep.
I mean, because that truck has to keep moving in order to be profitable for my company and for Tri-State.
When you think about the fuel and what you're paying the
Absolutely.
driver and your truck payment and insurance,
Yeah.
and yeah, I understand. Look,
It's
it's a capital heavy
Right.
industry,
Right.
And so it takes a lot of money to keep those trucks moving.
It does, and I think at the end of the day, I think to be fair, I would rather a person be out the 3 weeks minimum and maybe as long as a month out. But in today's society with drivers, it's getting more and more and more difficult to find those guys.
It is.
That will do that. So I've had to adjust what my needs are, and my minimum is 2 weeks. But we're
And it kind of depends on where they live, right?
It does.
I mean, because if they're in those freight lanes, maybe they can get home more often, and that's usually what we tell people.
And for my latest driver, it's worked out very well for him because he's been out now for 4 loads and he's been by his home twice.
Right.
You know, and
That's
been
perfect.
able to do his 34 hours in that lane.
Yep.
And it's worked. He just loves it. And he says, I'm taking it back. I don't need to be home every 2 weeks because I'm getting home almost.
I'm already home.
Yeah, I'm home almost every week for my 34.
Fantastic.
So it's worked out very well, and I'd like to continue as we learn each other to continue to bring drivers on that would work for in those lanes.
Oh yeah, that's
we have the
those
lanes,
are the perfect
we have the lanes
situations.
and the freight.
No doubt we do. And John, really, and because I got a dog in the fight, right? If a driver comes to me and says, "Are you going to recommend your company?" They're not going to believe anything I tell them. So when from a driver's mouth, from somebody who's been at Tri-State over 2 years, would you recommend Tri-State to other drivers? And if you would recommend us, why is that? What are the reasons behind it?
100%, I'd recommend Tri-State. Tri-State has went above and beyond for me. They offered me that opportunity. They didn't, I'm just going to call it straight out, they didn't lie.
Didn't oversell you.
Oversell, that's a better word.
Yeah.
They didn't oversell me. What they provided top equipment for me to operate. They told me they were going to put me in lanes that were profitable, and they have. They told me I was going to have the home time, that if I gave them a week to 2 weeks,
sufficient notice
to be able to say, I need to be home for this graduation or this wedding or whatever situation, they could make that happen. And I didn't ask for it often, but when I did, I counted on them to come through, and they did. And it's what I like about it is that I can as a business person, an entrepreneur, I can count on this company to come through of what they say they're going to do for me and for the drivers. They always have. The benefits have been good for the family. The home time's been good for the family. The income's been great for the family. It's just been the best place in this industry that I have worked for in over 2 decades, and would not look to go anywhere else ever.
Well, we feel pretty lucky too,
Ever.
you know. And one of the things that I took from my stepdad when I was working with him in another industry, he always used to say, "You hire your problems." Right. And so when we talked earlier in the conversation about how we're really careful when we bring on drivers and building a relationship with the drivers. I mean, we try and do it throughout the entire staff, right? And I always tell drivers when they come in, every communication you get from somebody at Tri-State should be respectful, friendly, and helpful.
Absolutely.
Every single time. And we want to, are we perfect at that? Well, no, we're not perfect, but we're pretty damn good. And when we aren't perfect, we make up for it, and we're always learning and improving.
What I like is that, you know, the owners are personable, and when they see you, they greet you, they say hi, they say, I appreciate what you do for us. The managers will ask, is there anything that we can do better? The maintenance people go above and beyond to make sure that truck is.
Those shop guys are great.
They're amazing.
They're really
standard.
good.
They're just great. They schedule you an appointment, they get you in, they get you out, because they know that time is important both for the business as well as for getting that freight down where it's supposed to be, picked up on time and delivered. There has not been, from safety to compliance to payroll, right down the chain, has there been anybody in this company that I haven't met, that I have met, that hasn't been amazing, just straight up. And I know that maybe people will be watching this and thinking, yeah, okay,
how much did we pay John to do this?
Well, in over 2 decades, I've been blessed to finally, towards the end of my career as a driver, find a company like Tri-State, and I could not be happier, and I would highly recommend them to anybody that is looking. We hear the guys talk about, you're just, you're not a number, be a part of a team. Well, at Tri-State, you're not a number, but you are part of a team. Almost to the point of being, and is very close to be part of a family.
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how grateful I am to be a part of it.
Well, we appreciate you. I'm lucky enough to have a very good relationship with you and a lot of our other drivers. And I mean, the bad stories you hear about truck drivers, I mean, the media is always focused on bad stories. And it's funny because our drivers we're lucky. We've got great drivers, and we're glad you're on the team.
Well, thank you.
I want to thank you for taking part in this interview. If anyone out there has any questions, please feel free to give us a call anytime. Our phone number is 800-367-1692. If you're interested in driver position here, you can always go to www.drive4tristate.com. That's the number 4, and fill out an app if you want to. But certainly appreciate you being here, sir.
Thank you for, again, the invitation.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.